In part 1 of Project Liberty Light, we wired up our LED matrices and brought them to life with the basic American flag display. That alone was a huge milestone, turning a pile of components into something recognizable and meaningful. But now it's time to take the next step. Right now the display is static, it does one thing. In this part we're going to change that. We'll introduce push-button control, allowing us to switch back to the American flag at any time, cycle through simple solid colors like red, white, and blue, and turn the display off when needed. This is where the project starts to feel like it's capable of doing much more than display one simple flag. Beautiful, yes, but our objective was to make it a living flag project, not a static flag project. So since this is a continuation from our circuit from part 1, the only things that we're going to need for part 2 in this video is a couple of momentary push button switches. I'm using a blue one and a black one. I'm going to consider the blue one as my flag button and the black one for the color button, and we'll get into what that means here in a bit. And of course we're going to need a few other jumper wires to make some of the connections. That's it. We'll be using the Arduino's internal pull-up resistors, so no external resistors are required for the buttons in this step. This keeps things clean and beginner-friendly. As for wiring the buttons, we're going to use a simple and reliable wiring method using internal pull-ups. So each button will be wired like this. One side of each of the buttons will be going to ground. So in this case, I'm going to use the black wires of both of the buttons to go to ground. And then the other side of the buttons, in this case, they both have red wires. So I'll make each of those red wires go to an Arduino digital pin. Then in our code from part 1, we'll just add what's necessary to be able to use these buttons to control our LED matrices. So the way the code is going to control these buttons is when a button is not pressed, the internal pull-up resistor reads high, and when the button is pressed, the internal pull-up resistor reads low. This might feel backwards at first, but it's very common in embedded systems. So earlier I mentioned the pin connections for the two buttons. Again, I'm using the blue button as my flag button. Its red wire is going to go to pin 2 of the Arduino, and I'm using the black button as my color button, which will control the scrolling of the different colors that we'll get into later. And its red wire is going to go to pin 3 on the Arduino. You can change these if needed, just be consistent in your code. So before writing code, we just need to define what we want the buttons to do. In this case, I want the flag button to instantly switch the display to the American flag. I want the color button to cycle through simple color codes, red, white, blue, and then off. All of this stuff will be taken care of in code, and you can find the code at the Motbots website for this particular part of the series, as well as for part 1 of the series, the previous video that we did. I'll leave a link in the description of this video so you can find all that easily. So once everything you have set up and everything's wired up and you've compiled and uploaded your code to your Arduino, we want to try the following to make sure that everything is working the way that it should. We want to press the flag button. In this case, the blue button for me is my flag button. When I press it, the display should show the American flag. When I press the color button, in this case it's the black button for me. So as I press the black button, I should see the red, white, and blue display as I press the button, and also the LED should turn off at some point when I'm pressing through, and the order should be red, white, blue, and then off. And again, that's by pressing my color button and pressing it every time to cycle through each of those options. If I press the flag button again, the display should instantly return to the flag. You can find the code at the Motbots website for this part of the series. Again, I'll leave the link in the description of this video so you can find it. I'll also leave the link to part 2 of this series for this video that will direct you to the site where you can review and understand how the code works. There is a detailed explanation of the code for this part, and if you visit our page for Project Liberty Light, you can find all the parts to this series as they are now and into the future as we progress in this series, where you can find all the information for each step of this series that you'll ever need to know how to do this particular project. That's the wiring, the connections, the code, the explanation of the code, everything that you need to be successful in creating your own Liberty Light living flag project. So I again will leave all the information that you need down in the description of this video. So with the addition of the 2 simple push buttons, Project Liberty Light has taken a big step forward, moving from a static display to something interactive and user controlled. At this stage, you can now instantly return to the American flag display with the flag button, cycle through bold, solid color modes using the color button, and turn the display off entirely when needed. This may seem like a small upgrade on the surface, but it introduces a powerful concept: user input controlling system behavior. Instead of the Arduino simply running a fixed pattern, it is now reacting to real-world interaction, a foundational idea in both embedded systems and robotics. In the next part of the Project Liberty Light series, we'll take things a step further by introducing a dedicated power control solution. Instead of relying on plugging and unplugging the system, we'll add a toggle switch to the power supply, giving you a clean, reliable way to turn the entire display on and off, just like a finished real-world device. This will not only improve usability, but also move the project closer to a polished, standalone build you can proudly display for any occasion. I want to thank you for joining me for this part of the project. I hope you are enjoying it as much as I am, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. I hope you join me soon for part 3, and until next time, remember to keep at it and stay motivated.